All right, guys and gals, we're going to talk about the interview. Generally, the walkthrough is the interview. I call it the walkthrough, or it's an assessment, or whatever you want to call it. This is the planning phase where you and the project manager, general contractor, or handyman walk through the property or room to look at and talk about what you want done. Now, what I am about to talk about is mostly for bigger projects that require more than one trade, but it can be applied to a single trade as well. And I'm going to go deep. Like, this is going to go into deep psychology. But the thing is, you need to realize you're kind of getting interviewed too. And I'll get into what someone like me is looking for after I go over what you're looking for. So what are you looking for? First and foremost, I would say honesty. Honesty is what you're looking for. This trade is where you will avoid most problems. Now, this isn't talk therapy, but one of the best ways to pick up on an honest vibe in someone is to be living out a state of honesty yourself. I'm just saying that if you know you lie, are deceitful, manipulative, have intentions that are not beneficial to both parties, don't expect anything different from the person you hire. In fact, you may have attracted a bad contractor just by being that way. If you're not living within an ongoing honest state, then when you come across a truly honest person, that person and what they say, they'll seem unreal to you. And it'll then feel like they're lying to you because the two of you are on opposing charges. Like when you put the opposite poles of two magnets together, the magnets just repel. Just saying, something to keep in mind. And I'll just leave that there. After honesty, I would say intention is the next best. I know you're probably thinking this is getting too deep. It's just a project. But how deep do you want to go to avoid something like litigation? I don't know about you, but I think courtrooms are the seventh pit of hell. So, hear me out. You are about to pay a stranger a good chunk of money to work on your home, where you live, or where someone will live, where anything can go wrong. You need to know if their intention is purely profit, just another job to get done so they can get to the bar, or if the finished product gives them satisfaction. It's the difference between their goal being just to get it done and move on to the next, or your goal is my goal. And each type of these people's intentions will give you an entirely different experience because, especially with big projects, even if everything's completed like totally correctly, if this project is going to go on for a week or two or some months, you might want the whole process to be pleasurable as well. You see what I'm saying? Like if I'm going to be at your house, there's going to be people at your house for like a month or three, you might want it to be kind of a nice, cordial experience. It's a long time to have a bad 3 months if you're pissed off at your worker. All right. And after intention is communication. Communication is a lost art. Can this person express ideas in a way that you understand? Can they speak your language? Now, I'm not talking about accents and your primary language and all that stuff. I'm talking about whether or not they can stack their words in such a way that syncs up with the way you think. So I change the way that I talk to each different person. I gather how they kind of are, and my mouth works differently. I don't think about it. But this is important in the beginning phase, but it comes into play throughout the projects. It comes into play when you're going to change stuff. You're probably going to add stuff. There's going to be unforeseen circumstances that arise and so on. And that one is obvious. But this part of the communication, not so obvious. The 3 emotional phases of a big project. You got excitement, we'll call it impatience, and relief. I'll go through these in more detail in another video, but usually about 3/4 of the way through a project, I have noticed that's when the homeowners get a little squirrely. They just start freaking out a little. There are many reasons for this, almost all emotional. But it's around this phase I start getting messages and phone calls that have a different tone. The excitement's worn off. It's not going as they had envisioned. Not that it's not going good, but there was most likely a storyline they had in their head, and Dorothy just threw Toto in the basket of her bicycle and steered that thing right down the Yellow Brick Road and off of it onto some mountain bike trail. Like, that's how people feel. Like, where are we going here? And that generates some discomfort. So I'll get phone calls or texts over the weekend about concerns, quote unquote. Then when I see them, when the week starts up again, all the questions and concerns are answered through good communication, both about the moment, that day, their concerns, and reminders of previous communications where I previewed them what was going to happen, because I know it's going to deviate from the story that they have in their head. And then they calm back down, they get regrounded. And it's just a thing that happens. But your guys got to be a little cool and calm and collected and be able to do that for you. If your worker can't give you a sense of calmness, I would probably move on, just because if you do get into panic mode, like when you panic, you make decisions that start affecting the project. Does that make sense?